club meeting. Thank you all for being here. We'll be starting in just a minute. As soon as I have everybody's eyes on me. If you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. Okay, thank you and welcome. And this wonderful yard sign that people have made they're available on that table as you walk in. Dictatorship or democracy? It's getting kind of scary now, isn't it? But we're gonna work our tushes off and we're gonna get this done. And we're gonna begin with our pledge. Brought to you by
Damien.
Oh, and Tajay.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Damien is the son of Fernando Garcia, so he would be sort of like the first son of the club. Thank you for being here. Hopefully everybody can see an agenda. They're at every table. Does anybody need an agenda? I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Okay, Janet and Miriam.
Who
second. Janet. Okay, and Susie, Katie, how are we doing on 50-50 tickets? Okay, you can't win if you don't play. And all the money we raise does go towards, a good cause. It's not, our vacation fund or anything. It's electing Democrats. So, thanks for being here, and we've got a great program tonight. First of all, I'm going to bring Chris Pearson up and Trinity DeBro up. I'm doing all this without the agenda in front of me. Trinity wasn't here last month, so she didn't get sworn in, so she doesn't feel official. Thank you.
I think we're good. We'll just move this one over a little bit. We're going to swear in Trinity DeVoe as our board member. Repeat after me. I, state your name.
I, Trinity DeBro,
Pledge allegiance to support the constitutions of the United States and the state of California.
I have to say that again. I pledge
To support and defend the constitutions of the United States and the state of California.
to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America
And the state of California.
and the state of California,
And abide by the bylaws of the California State and San Diego County Democratic parties.
and abide by the
Bylaws.
and
Of the California and San Diego County Democratic Party.
of the California and San Diego Democratic Party
And the Mesa-Foothills Democratic Club.
and the Mesa-Foothills Democratic Club.
Welcome Trinity DeVoe, ladies and gentlemen.
Also, Trinity just got accepted to grad school. She's going to be in the UCSD Public Policy. So yay, Trinity. And now Brenda, do you want to introduce Monica? Hi, Monica.
I didn't get her bio written up at all.
I think we know enough about her.
I think we do.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. We certainly would like to welcome our new county supervisor, Miss Monica Montgomery Stepp, previously known as our city council. Come on up.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for braving this. It's a little better right now, but it is cold. And it's been quite a couple of weeks for a lot of us, all of us, but particularly for pocketed neighborhoods throughout our region that have really housed a lot of our working class families that are now without anything at all. So as we go forward and commemorate Black History Month, I think we have to hold space for all of the people there, whether or not they're African American, right? Because they have really held up San Diego as being our working class, and it's just sad to see everything that is going on, particularly in areas that are historically Black communities in San Diego. So we want to definitely hold space for them as we move forward, but I really want to thank Dr. Brenda Miller for inviting me and staying on me during a transition time to say yes, even though we were going through a lot and trying to just get our feet on the ground from the whirlwind that was the County Board of Supervisors race and then the transition. So the election was November 7th, I think. The swearing in was December 5th. And so, yeah, we had a lot going on, but Brenda stayed on me and I am here, and I'm glad that I'm here. Give her a hand. It really is an honor to speak during Black History Month. This is one of my favorite times of the year where we can really reflect on what it means to set aside this month to honor all of the accomplishments, the sacrifices, contributions of the African diaspora. And as I was thinking about this evening, Brenda and I were talking about past, present, future, and I was thinking about the foundation of this country and how many uncomfortable conversations I have had to have as an elected, before that of course, but as an elected official, we run across people of all different backgrounds. When I was at the ACLU, you know, I would have to reach out to people, but a lot of people are of like mind, you know, kind of in a similar bubble. But as an elected, you know, it is my duty to represent everyone and to, at the very least, hear their interests and what they believe are are priorities for them, and then integrate that into the things we do. So in having those tough conversations about the foundation of this country, you know, the fact that the Constitution as originally written was not meant for all of us, and every piece of policy that we pass, everything that we do kind of chips away at that original intent to make this place a more inclusive place. Those are hard conversations to have, because for so many years, all of us, for decades and centuries, were really taught that very thing, that this is a place, you know, that where white male landowners will thrive and everyone else is kind of subservient to that, right? We're taught that in one way or the other, whether we knew it or not, whether we truly believe that in our hearts or not. Those were the lessons that we received. They were based on that lens. So now we're in a place where there are a lot of different folks, a lot of different lenses, if that's a word, and a lot of different stories that we have to take in order to truly become that dream that we all ascribe to be. That is the America that I think all of us want it to be. So we're going through that process, right? And part of that is acknowledging the history of San Diego. You know, our Black history includes those early pioneering Black families that their businesses originally set in the gas lamp area, what we now call the gas lamp area. That's part of our history. Part of our history is that racist and restrictive covenants moved those folks out of that area into, you know, Imperial Avenue and Logan Heights. That's a part of our history in San Diego. But that community still thrived and provided essential services and fostered community in everything that they did, but it's important for us to acknowledge that. It's also important for us to understand that that's, not where our journey ends, right? And we have a lot of work to do, but we've done a lot of work. And I am very honored to be in the position that I'm in at this time, although it was very hard to have had my career as an elected official start with COVID and now be in the middle of floods that, that we don't see every 100 years. It's a tough time, but it is also a time for a lot of opportunity. I see the shift and feel the shift where we can now openly discuss these things, this true history of our nation. That is a really good thing. It has not always been like that. Now the crucial point is to, when we talk about solutions, for us to maintain that unity around how we resolve the errors of the past. That's hard. Very honored to be the first Black woman to serve on the County Board of Supervisors, but I was also, and let me just say real quick, somebody is timing me. I know it's only supposed to be 10 minutes, so time me. It is an honor to be a first, but it shows how far we have come, but it shows how far we have to go. So it is a mixed bag of the celebration for me, right? It's amazing, very excited, but it is a mixed bag that it took us this long to elect a Black woman to sit on that board. So just keeping that in mind, there is a responsibility I think that we all have in that, because it really is a mixed bag. But I was going to say that is an honor, but also one of the, I think, most consequential work that I will probably do is serving on the Reparations Task Force for Californians. It's the first task force of its kind in the nation. And very hard work, very emotional work, because the end product of our convening together as a task force was an 1,100-page report. And a lot of that focused on the treatment of Black people in this country and in this state. A lot of Californians, we don't talk, there's a lot of stuff that has gone on in California that we don't even talk about, right? I learned so much. But it's really 1,100 pages of that history, but also solutions, and that is work that I hope will lead us into the future, because I feel that it is, I think it's also a spiritual reckoning, that we have to admit what has gone on this nation's soil before we can move forward. And that part of that work is very, very, very important. So yeah, I've been having some hard conversations around here, but it has been really good, and it has been very fulfilling to have those conversations, because I don't want to see history repeat itself. In this, our history, we can go back to the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation, 1863. We can go to 1865, the ratification of the 13th Amendment by the states. We can look at, through our history, 12 years of Black people receiving the civil rights that they did not have before because they were enslaved. And then we can see that progress be ripped out like a rug from under Black people because the federal troops were pulled out of the South. And so then exactly, and we see the sharecropping that also resulted in the lack of financial institutions failing to give Black people an opportunity and loans that they would have otherwise gotten. We see redlining. We call these the badges and incidents of slavery. So although we do not have slavery in the way that it was defined in the 13th Amendment, first of all, the 13th Amendment has a loophole. We all know that. That has produced mass incarceration. But just because we don't see it in that way, in that very visceral way, there are incidents and badges that have found its way back into our policies. And that's the work that we have to do now, to call those out and to remove them, not only from the black and white that is on the paper, but remove them from our own minds. And I think we can do it. I think America, as the experiment that it is, will be successful. And that really is the only thing that keeps me doing what I'm doing, because I believe in people. I believe that people are full of love for one another, and we really have to have that as a foundation for the work that we do moving forward. So I'm happy to be here with you, to have talked about the past, the Reconstruction era, where we went from there, the present. The present is, we have a lot of hopeful people, but it's also, the present is also, we're in a region that has maybe 6% of the population is African American, but about 28% of the homeless population is African American or Black. That's what we're facing with now. Back in the city of San Diego, we had 0.02 contracts go to African American businesses, hundreds and millions of taxpayer dollars. It is not much greater at the county. So there are things in the present that we have to face. But I still believe the future conversations around us finally coming together around those solutions is going to be the key. Because I think we're at a place, well, many of us are, some of us still aren't. Not us in the room, but you know, us as an American family, let's say a San Diego region family, can admit these wrongs, can say, you know, hey, this is the history of our country, right? We can do that, but then when it comes to maybe coming together, convening around the solutions that will make African American people whole, that's a tough conversation. But I'm asking, as I leave, I know someone's timing me, but
You have the floor, Monica.
Yeah, exactly.
okay, it said 10 minutes of my thing, but I am, and I'm almost done. I really am asking that you commit with me to have those tough conversations, or at least to listen when they get kind of hard. Because I think we have to get through that to get to the other side. You know, all of these things that are happening, that even our natural disasters, are an opportunity for us to show leadership. And that can be at any level of government, that can be in our households, that can be when talking to our children and grandchildren, that could be leading the Mesa-Foothills Democratic Club, that could be anything that we do in our lives that requires us to be in leadership position. We have to urge these hard conversations. So, my commitment is to use that genuine intention that I have in these halls of power. I've always committed to keep community voice at the center of what I do. Will continue to do that. I will continue to commit to the African American community and the contributions not being erased. You know, the stories that we have about this history, even in San Diego. I don't know how many people really know that Gaslamp area was full of Black businesses. You know, so that commitment through establishing the Black Arts and Culture District on Imperial Avenue, that was kind of behind just establishing that district so that we could begin to have a place where that history is told. And that's for every one of us, not just for Black folks, that's for everybody. Because I think it's very interesting, to say the least, But on the larger scale, we don't want to participate in erasure unknowingly. You know, you don't know what you don't know. So we certainly want to continue to lift up those voices and people that came before us. I think, you know, we're still fighting for equity. In some cases, we're still fighting for our own humanity, to be seen as human beings. And we'll continue that fight. I think we will continue that fight. I do think that San Diego County District 4 sent a strong message sending me to the county. Why? Because I'm who I am. And 61% of people accepted that. So I didn't go and try to be anything other than who I am. I had an afro while I was running, the way my hair came out of my head. I was served on the reparations task force. There were a lot of things that really could have, in another day and time, could have worked against me that actually worked for me. And I thank you all for that, because I think we need to acknowledge that as we move forward. So we will continue fighting. We'll fight together. We can't lose sight of our goal, can't lose sight of the legacy of those pioneering Black families that came to San Diego. My dad's people are from Dallas, Texas, by way of Louisiana. My mom's people are from Mississippi. They came out here for a better life and wanted that for their children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And it is truly better for us than it was for them, but we still have a long way to go. So let's continue that fight together. Let's honor Black History Month the best way we possibly can. Let's continue to have those hard conversations and keep our hearts open to truth and how we can rectify what has been done in the past. And I thank you so much for staying on this battlefield in such a tough time. And thank you for having me this evening. Happy Black
Monica, Q&A time. Q&A.
Oh, okay. Yes, Mr. Pearson.
Can you summarize the recommendations of the reparations task force, please?
I cannot summarize all of them, but what I will say is we had 11, and I was ready for you. I have some. We had about 11 different chapters, so they dealt with health, education, the criminal legal system, pathology of the Black family, the economic aspect, political disenfranchisement. There were about 11 different chapters. So what is going on right now at the state? So what the process was AB 3121 established a reparations task force, California, that there would be 9 members that would go through 2 years of study and come up with a report and recommendations to hand over to the state legislature. I was appointed by, I think she's still pro tem technically, but if not, I'll still call her pro tem, Senator Tony Atkins. Dr. Weber wrote the bill, right? So it's really San Diego, really this leadership came out of San Diego, really. And what's going on now is that there was a bill brought forward. One of our recommendations was, which I think was a foundational recommendation, was to establish what we called a Freedmen's Bureau, kind of mirroring what was done during Reconstruction, where they would, this bureau would help with eligibility requirements, because we do have eligibility requirements, especially since it's a state task force and not a national task force, which made it really complicated for us to even come up with some of these recommendations. And it would also just take in, kind of guide the state through implementing the recommendations, right? Once they were passed by the legislature. very foundational piece. That bill has been brought forward. But the Black Caucus last week announced that they have a number of bills in a reparations package as well. One includes an acknowledgement and apology. Another one deals with the people being able to wear their hair the way that they want to. Another one deals with expanding access to career technical education by creating a competitive grant program to increase enrollment of descendants. We say descendants, but that means descendants of enslaved people. So part of our discussion was there is an overall Black community, right, with Black immigrants, and it's a very robust and rich community. This particular harm that we were talking about, which is slavery and what came from that and the incidents and badges of slavery, there's a specific community that is the descendants of enslaved people. And so what the Bureau also does is help you wade through that. That is part of eligibility. That was a very tough conversation because Black people go through a lot of similar things in America. So that was a tough conversation to have about eligibility. But we did land there because of the United Nations 5 categories of reparations. And harm, who suffered the harm is a big one. And we have to tie, based on the bill, you have to tie the harm back to slavery. And so that's where we came up with that. We also had a world-renowned constitutional law professor come and explain to us the limitations of the 14th Amendment. We also have Prop 209 here in California. So there were a lot of limitations where we had to make an eligibility requirement based on lineage. So when we say descendants, that's what it means. That's what these bills are focused on. There's also a bill coming up for career education and financial aid for redline communities. Another bill amends the California Constitution to allow the state to fund programs for the purposes of increasing the life expectancy of, improving educational outcomes for, or lifting out of poverty-specific groups. So there's a list of them. Dr. Keela Weber has a couple of the bills that she authored that is in the package that have to deal with, again, recognizing the harms in a formal apology, and then protection of natural and protective hairstyles, which is still something that African American and Black people deal with in daily life. So there is a lot going on here. I will give you this, and then we can make sure that the club has it as well to email it out. It was a press release that went out to everyone with regard to the California Legislative Black Caucus 2024 reparations legislative package. So there are some, the recommendations go really deep. There's probably a couple hundred of pages of recommendations in that full 1,100 page report, but these are certainly some of them. And I would say the foundational one is setting up the Freedmen's Bureau, which technically is not a part of this package. So they're two different things, but they're both in the state cycle right now.
Thank you.
Yes.
Forgive my ignorance, what does redlined mean?
Yeah, that is, so when the banks redlined certain communities that they wouldn't allow people to have loans for, or they wouldn't allow, they would do high interest loans. So it'd be like, in this area, we are shuffling the Black people over to this area because they cannot live in these areas.
Right.
So that's really
So
the
just
redlining.
basically making a red box on
That
it.
it's literally that, and so now when you place the redlining that was done historically, and you overline that with the Cal Enviro screen, the environmental test that we do to determine pollution in areas, it's pretty much the same areas. So when you look at the redlining communities and you place all the maps of disparity over them, it's very much similar. So that's, Yes, and so that's part of the Cal Enviro screen. The floods, the lack of, infrastructure on the channels, those are our red line communities. Those, if you place it on that map, they were there. They were there. So it is, we know what the issues are and where the issues occur. Yes?
Yeah, some of you, if you live in West La Mesa, over around like University area, actually in your, property deeds they can't be enforced anymore, but has, covenants that
Yes.
indicate that only Caucasians can own that land.
Yes.
And like it
Yes.
says that in the grant, in deeds for these properties, and that was, in here in Mesa, this was happening.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You can see in ours, which
You can see in our
is what comes
covenant.
through with every title on each property.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's not, yeah, that was not far back in history, if we really think about it. Not far at all. There is also programs from the federal government that allowed for white people to get assistance to buy homes, but excluded people of color. So we know that wealth building really starts at home. It starts with the purchase of a home. And people of color, particularly Black people, at that time were excluded from any type of grant or even loan. FHA loans, they had those programs around that same time, around the 60s, 70s.
Are there still dirt streets in some areas south of 94?
You said still dirt cheap?
Dirt streets?
Yeah, so, there are alleys that, how do I say? So, the way that, I'll speak on the city policy for a minute, because one of the kind of good things about being a county board of supervisors is that I don't have to deal with as many roads, even though I have unincorporated areas, but, because infrastructure is just so, we have such a backlog, right, around the region. So, there was actually a policy, and Councilmember Moreno at that time led to change the policy. It was really a racist policy that prohibited alleyways from receiving funding to become streets because they didn't have the curb, gutter, and other things to allow for the construction of the street. And so she advocated to change that, but the districts that had the most unpaved streets were districts 8, hers and mine at the time, 4. So yeah, there are still alleyways, there's still unpaved streets, there's still streets that do not have sidewalks. Now in District 4 in Encanto, there are some people that they moved out there for the rural feel of it, so they didn't necessarily want that. But I think times are changing, right? So, yes, there's still dirt roads. And last thing I'll say about that is that right now, because of the storms, there are roads that used to look like roads that now look like dirt roads still. Right, because the first storm was on the 22nd of January, so, yes.
Yes, on public today, they were talking about unhoused children, and they said there's over 6,000 unhoused children in the county. Schools are doing some, but they're gonna be running out of money in March, because some of this was money allocated with COVID a couple of years ago. What specifically is the county doing, or what do they have in mind to make a decision?
And you said there's 6,000 students that are unhoused right now. Is that based on the storm or overall? Because the last time I checked, it was closer to 20,000 students who were homeless.
40,000 unhoused children?
In the San Diego Unified School District only.
Yeah. This was, maybe in this particular, just in the, I believe, in the South Bay area,
Yeah, so, well, I will, and I'm not sure about the numbers specifically, if they're talking about, children right now who are suffering based on the flood and being flood victims too, to add to that. But I'll just go quickly to what the county is doing, so, it is a very, interesting relationship because there are 18 different cities within the county. I would say about 3 of those cities were hit the hardest, and the unincorporated area, Spring Valley, was hit really, really hard, and there are quite a few areas, Casa de Oro was hit really hard, in the unincorporated area that were hit hard. So interesting because we have to coordinate a recovery effort, right? We have to coordinate a response. But what the county did do a few things. We set up, of course, our county Office of Emergency Services, logistics there. We set up the local assistance center that served over 800 families in Spring Valley. And then now there's one in the city of San Diego as well, in Mountain View. So we had many different agencies from up and down the state, and also some from the federal government come, because people have lost everything. All of their documents, no clothes, no food, they have lost everything. So this center had a lot of those services that they could kind of take advantage of, and also to walk through their insurance policies as well. And to at least get on a list to receive housing, because many people are in need of housing. So that was the start. Then the chairwoman called a special meeting, and her and I put forward a board letter to institute an eviction moratorium in the flood impacted areas, because people were being kicked out of their apartments and not for necessarily for landlords to fix them, but for them to be kicked out, with no recourse. So we did that in the flood prone areas and it's limited, it's moratorium 60 days, but just to stop everything in its place until we figure out whether we're going to get assistance from the state, whether we're going to get assistance from FEMA, which is a very high bar. All of these things we needed to figure out. So we did that. We also put $10 million aside to begin some recovery efforts, and at the very least to make sure that people who had lost everything had a place to stay, had housing. So there are a lot of community organizations that came together during that time in rapid response to help people that were impacted. A lot of the work within the city of San Diego was coming out of the Jackie Robinson YMCA, and community organizations got together, and folks who wanted to help brought donations there, but the Housing Commission ended up being there to help house people. It was just a huge operation, a community-led operation. So now that is switching over to the county's program of housing for a longer period of time, as we still work with the state and the federal government to figure out what that public assistance looks like, and also what the individual assistance looks like, because they're two separate things. So those are some of the things that we're doing now. Stay tuned, because we are very committed to these communities, and that the loss is so devastating without a lot of choices, right? And I worked for a federal judge, an extern for him while I was in law school. He wouldn't mind me saying this. He lost everything during the 2007 fires, everything. He lost everything. It was very devastating for him. And as a matter of fact, I remember one of his colleagues coming over to the office and re-gifting him a souvenir that he had gotten for his colleague from South Africa. He gave it back to him because he knew he didn't have anything, I remember that. But the judge had a choice. He could rebuild his home, or he could stay in a downtown condo. That was his choice, right? We're dealing with folks that don't have that choice at all, at all. I mean, they have lost everything. And so I think this is where, government should step in to help in situations like this. And these are historic communities. These are kind of the last working family standing, in these areas. And I think we just need to put in extra effort to make sure that people, if we cannot make them whole, we should try our hardest to restore some of their life back. So stay tuned. We're still working on it. We're still working on all of that. We're hopeful that the state and federal government will come through, but we have to have a plan B and a plan C and a plan D because we don't know what that looks like.
Okay, anybody else? All right. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Girl, you know you came in quietly if I didn't even notice you were here, Raquel. That never happens. We're going to have Raquel Vasquez, who is our candidate for 79th Assembly District, and Chris Pearson, our VP of Political Action, will moderate a little panel questions for her. Please welcome her. Bring her to the club.
Before Mayor Vasquez comes up, I want to talk about 6 degrees of separation, that Kevin Bacon thing. I don't know if you got any jazz or blues fans in the audience. There's currently at the Signet Theater in Old Town a musical there, a 2-person musical called Lady Day live at the Emerson Bar and Grill. It was Billie Holiday's last performance in Philadelphia, and I highly recommend it. The piano player is a cross between Duke Ellington and Keith Jarrett. The vocalist is out of the world good. And during, in between, the song she was singing, she reminisced about Billie Holiday's life. And here's the 6 degrees. And I had to check this out. I couldn't believe it. Billie Holiday used to take care of her great-grandmother who was a slave, who had 16 kids with the slave owner. Every time you hear Billie Holiday on the radio, think about that, how close that is to our current day situation. It's just, I'm going to give a plug. I love the Signet Theater. I love theater in San Diego. This one's off the charts amazing. The little asides that the lead performer between songs was telling you about Billie Holiday's life, that's one I couldn't believe it. I had to go home and Google it. And I'm just like, are you freaking kidding me? I mean, Billie Holiday used to take care of a great-grandmother who was a slave, who had 16 kids with the slave owner. I mean, how close? I mean, how many times have you heard anybody ever heard Billie Holiday on the radio? You know who she is? I mean, it's just like, that woman was that close. I mean, that's just, I mean, this is not ancient history. It's just astonishing. I'm sorry, Mayor Vasquez, I don't mean that. I'm going to be asking you the same, excuse me, back to the regular program. I'll be asking her the same questions we asked the other 2 candidates who are running for Assembly District 79. And do you want to introduce her? Go ahead. Yeah. Where do you want to sit? Do you want to sit here or stand here? Where's your most comfortable?
I think we all know her very well, Mayor Raquel Vasquez. Let's welcome the mayor. Are you sitting down?
We're figuring this out as we go along, can you tell? Okay, like I said to Councilmember Parent and board member Sharp Collins. We have three amazing candidates for assembly. I mean, how many times do you get three amazing Democrats? They're the only ones on the ballot. I mean, we are going to get a Democrat to represent us in the 79th Assembly District. How cool is that? How cool is that? I want every office in San Diego County to be that. Because, I'm sure you recognize Mayor Vasquez. I've worked with all three of these candidates. I'm astonished and amazed by their talent, their commitment, their work ethic, their experience. And I'm particularly amazed by their ability to campaign and be a candidate because they win. They all have a history of winning. They all have a history of doing those morning breakfast meetings, those late 2 or 3 in the evening meetings, weekend events. Do you get holidays off? Of course not. You go to holiday events. I mean, their work ethic is off the charts. So, Mayor Vasquez, what advice do you have for Democrats running against Republicans in competitive races? For example, Kevin Juza against Carl DeMaio, Stephen Houlihan against Daryl Issa, the city council races in Santee and El Cajon, and school board races in Santee and El Cajon will come up in November. These are really tough races because the registration is even or skew a little bit Republican. Mayor Vasquez, what advice do you have for Democrats running against Republicans in competitive races?
Thank you so very much. I just wonder, to have like a moment to introduce who I am, because I think there might be some people here who
I think
might
everybody
know.
knows you, but go ahead.
Okay, so my name is Raquel Vasquez, Mayor for the city of Lemon Grove. How many of you know who I am? So there are some people in the room who are not quite familiar. I just want to let you know that in this moment, it is truly an honor to serve as the mayor for the city of Lemon Grove. First Black woman mayor elected in the entire county of San Diego. Longest serving Black mayor in the entire county of San Diego. With a list of significant accomplishments serving my city, and it truly is all about public service for me. Just want to let you know, originally from the Los Angeles area, born and raised. My mom was actually a San Diego resident. She grew up here in the Linda Vista area. Her name is Lottie Rose. And it was my grandmother, Rosanna Keeling, that actually took her to Los Angeles when she was a teenager. And then somehow I came along. And I spent a lot of time with my grandmother because my mom, she was a cosmetologist, a hairstylist. And my dad was a teamster. He actually worked for Goodyear Tires in Los Angeles, California. And then eventually he retired from Certified Grocers of California as a teamster. So my family, working class family, had a lot of grit, and I spent a lot of time with my grandmother, who, since I was very young, would take me with her to walk around the corner for her to vote. Since I was about 3-4 years old, on up until I graduated from college, graduated from Cal State Northridge. And she would say this to me. Rosanna Keeling would say, Raquel, it's important for you to vote, and you vote in honor of the many men and women, African American, who lost their lives so that you could have the right to vote, but also the women's suffrage movement that allowed women to vote. And if you don't like the people, and you don't like the politics, you vote in honor of them. But then she would also say, take a look around in your community, and if you see something that you don't like, do something about it. And she would say that to me every single election year. Would you consider that to be waterboarding? Perhaps, but in a good way. Went to college, met someone who was super awesome named Jose Vasquez. In fact, he's my husband. He's here with us in the room today. He actually served 24 years in the United States Navy, retired. And if you could please stand. And surprisingly, we have been married 30 years. We're working on year number 31. Yay! And it was his commitment to serving our country that inspired me to serve in the community. And while he was gone for up to 6 months at a time, I would take our 2 young daughters, very young, work my full-time job and volunteer in the community. And so we helped out at community cleanups and senior homes, and we did all the things to help pass the time. And before we knew it, he would come back home. And that led to opportunities to serve on boards and commissions for the city of Lemon Grove. I served nearly 6 years as a planning commissioner for the city, learned how cities are built, and why government is so important to every community. Ran for city council in 2012, elected to the city council, and I served 1 term on the council. And then I ran for mayor in 2016, and I won, and I'm currently serving in my 2nd term. And today is an exciting day as my name is on the ballot for the 79th Assembly District. And so if you take a look at your ballot, my name is the first name, Raquel Vasquez. Feel free to check out my webpage, follow me on social media, and reach out at any time if you have any questions. And so now I will get to the first question. Are you ready for the question? Did I give you enough background information? I hope so. And by the way, before I get to that question, as it is Black History Month, I just want to take this opportunity to acknowledge Monica Montgomery for her monumental achievement in serving on the County Board of Supervisors. Let's give her a hand. And then there's also one thing that I'd like to touch on, and that is my heart. My heart for people right now, it beats strong, and it beats hard, because in this moment, we can all say that we've gone through so much, and we're talking about in a 4-year time span. Let's take a look here. In 2020, we had the rise of COVID. We had systemic racism issues bubbling up everywhere. And then we had the collapse of our economy all at the same time. And there was no playbook, no space in history where all 3 things were happening. But you know what? We got through it. And I do believe that while we did experience, some really heart-shaking experiences, it impacted our families, it impacted our health and our well-being, it impacted our pocketbooks, and all of the things. Here we are today, and we're dealing with 1,000-year floods. That's unheard of. And there's no playbook for that either, because the last time a storm rolled through San Diego County in such a short period of time and dropped as much rain as it did, that happened 1,000 years ago. So there's nothing to reference. But we're getting through that too. And we're getting through that together by helping each other. We're getting through that together by ensuring that resources are in place that can help people who need it most. And we will get through this together, and we will rebuild, and we will be stronger than ever. Okay, so now I will get to the question. What can people do who are running for office where there's a big challenge? What people who have a heart to serve can do is, number 1, develop an awesome team. supporters to develop strategy and create a winning campaign. Number two, do not get distracted by what others are doing. Focus in on your campaign, focus in on your messaging, and be focused and intentional in every single thing that you do. And then number three, attack it with grit. Attack it with grit. And what I mean by that is, it truly is the candidate who has to put the energy, put the fuel behind any campaign in order for it to be successful. And if you do those things, regardless of what other candidates say, what other candidates do, then you have a vying chance at winning. And that's what's important. You see, you have these elements that are part of this whole process that we call campaigning for office. And those elements include money, endorsements. Oh wait, there's one more, it's called money. And those things are important. But at the end of the day, guess what really counts?
Numbers.
What?
Numbers.
Oh, no. Guess what really counts?
Voters.
The voters.
That's the numbers.
Oh, there you go. Numbers, voters, I got it.
Yeah.
And it truly is the decision of the voter who will make a commitment to ensuring that someone serves in that particular seat. And so if you continue to be focused and intentional, if you continue to reach out to voters and let them know your heart, let them know why you're serving, and let them know what your plans are for the future, then you do have a chance at winning.
Thank you, Mayor Vasquez. The next couple of questions were submitted by members of our audience at our last meeting. And I guess this one was inspired by Laura Lothian's win here in La Mesa when two Democrats split the vote. And the question is, what can Democratic candidates do to prevent a split vote that allows a Republican minority to get elected?
That's a good question. And perhaps as it relates to a party, more coordination and planning and strategizing. Making sure that individuals who are interested in running for office, number one, receive training. Number two, making sure that that coordination effort is in place within clubs and within a political party so that the best candidates for that particular seat are on the ballot. I'll be honest with you here. When there's an election, it's not about the others. It truly is about us and who we are and our value system, our democratic value system, and how we align ourselves with the best candidate. And if you have a proven and effective leader in place, why not allow that person to represent you? And so the one thing that I can say is, we live in this great country where, there's only two things that are necessary. Number one, you just kind of have to be 18, right? And that's old enough to run for office. And then, you just kind of have to, be a citizen of this country. And you can run for office. And that's the great thing about being here in America. So, truly it is all about aligning the support with the best possible candidate to ensure that they are able to take the seat and win office.
Thank you. This next question was presented by someone who was upset at our last meeting that so many jurisdictions across the United States gerrymander districts, and would you consider a proposal to change the California law that would transfer the authority to draw straight state legislative and congressional maps to the California state legislature instead of the current nonpartisan committee, like most Republican majority states do? That was a very long question they submitted last month.
Ah, that was his question. You're long-winded, okay. So, me personally, I am a supporter of local control. Because when it comes to local control, you actually have a say in what your local jurisdiction looks like. And when you stretch your arms outside of a jurisdiction, outside of perhaps the state and beyond, then you extend the power of someone else to dictate what or who you should be. And so I am a supporter of that. And, you know, that's something that as voters, we really need to keep our eye on, because there's always a grab. And when I say always, there's always a grab for power and influence. And just know at the end of the day, the true power is in the pen. It's the pen that's in your hand, and it's the pen that you use to mark the bubble, and it's your fingers that type on your keyboards to send letters, your thoughts, to those who are in elected positions.
Many cities are being approached by digital billboard companies about bringing these signs to various cities. Would you be interested in bringing forward legislation to limit or restrict digital billboards in our small towns and cities?
No, and let me tell you why. So, from a local municipal government perspective, budgets are always challenged. And the funds, the tax dollars, are not unlimited. In fact, they are limited. And for the small city of Lemon Grove, one way that we were able to help augment our general fund, and really a general fund is the money that we use to maintain your quality of life, to include fire and police protection, to clean parks and keep them safe, and to keep the lights on in the fixed streets. All of that comes out of the general fund. The one way we were able to improve our general fund, get more money in the fund so that we can make more improvements in our city, was to develop a public-private partnership with Outfront Media. Now let me tell you about the benefit of that agreement. Outfront Media is paying the city annually to utilize a small piece of land. And I don't know if you've seen the sign that's right off of the 94 freeway. It's beautiful, right? But they're utilizing that small piece of land. They're paying the city to rent that property. It's a 20-year agreement. But not only are they paying the city, they have committed to maintaining the area, the upkeep. And also, they have committed to providing a percentage of the advertising dollars to the city for the next 20 years. But I'm not done yet. In terms of our environment, in order to have this billboard right next to the freeway, it's kind of like a placemaker for Lemon Grove. Now you know where we are. They removed 2 old, dilapidated billboards out of our community so that they could put that freestanding billboard right next to our freeway. And so I see the benefits. I see the dollars. It's the dollars that are actually going into our general fund, and those dollars are actually helping for us to maintain quality of life.
What is the latest on PFAS removal in drinking water?
Can you please explain what PFAS are?
Miniature plastics.
And what is your question again?
What is Where's Jack Shoe? This is his question. Where the heck is he? Where is that guy? Yeah, this is Jack Shoe. He was, okay. What is the latest on PFAS removal in drinking water?
What is the latest?
Yeah, that was his question.
Okay, so what is the latest in terms of the removal of PFAS from water, right? From drinking water. So I'll tell you this, I am not a drinking water expert. However, I do know how important it is to protect our environment. And this is what I know. We have the ability to really change and reshape what our environment looks like. And I feel like it is our own personal obligation to reduce our use. Now, at the state level and policy, I think that there are opportunities to reshape and I'll say revise the materials that we are using in order to exist here on this earth. And as an assembly member, I would be committed to doing just that. So we know that in terms of our environment, we need to make changes. And I always share this with people. You know, this state, California, was noted for being golden, right? They call us the Golden State. And do you know why they call us the Golden State? There's two reasons. And both of these reasons fall under the color green. Green in terms of our environment, and it is our responsibility to make sure that our environment is sustainable, and green in terms of the money, because we are the 5th largest economy in the world. And if we can do that, the state of California will continue to be golden.
Thank you, Mayor Vasquez. Jack got another question. This is the long-winded one. What type of legislation will you support to reduce GHG emissions? We are all suffering from the effects of climate change. Those that have the least suffer the most. 79th District includes communities of concern that have been disadvantaged in many ways: education, affordable housing, jobs, but also they are subjected to the worst air quality and as a result the worst health outcomes. What type of legislation would you support to reduce GHG emissions?
What's GHG?
So greenhouse gas is GHG, and I think this is probably a great way to segue into some of the things that we can do to, I'll say, reduce our use. And right now, the state of California is pushing all of us to purchase electric vehicles by 2035. What that means in 2035, dealerships will no longer be able to sell gas cars.
Yeah.
You didn't know that, right? But also too, you know, because, and it sounds far, but not really. When you think about how we use our cars, we pull up to a gas station, we put the gas in the tank, and then we continue on. Right now, knowing that in 2035 there will be a conversion to electric cars only sold in the state, we need the infrastructure to support that. And so I will be looking at ways on how we can make sure, number one, the infrastructure, just like gas stations, we need the same kind of infrastructure in place so that when people pull up, they can charge and they can go. Yeah. We need that. And the idea of making that major conversion in 2035, perhaps it's a little lofty, but we know it's necessary. And I will be looking for funding to support that effort, because we can have all of the lofty ideas and they sound great, but if the money's not there to support it, then we have nothing. So just know, as a legislator, for me, I say, show me the money. I want to know where the money is so that we can make it happen. And as a legislator, I want to back that up in writing so that we know that we're solid as we move forward. So, those are my thoughts, and I will definitely keep my eye on how we can keep our environment what? Green. Yes, you got it. Okay, we'll do it one more time. So we can keep our environment what? Green. Thank you.
Mayor Vasquez, since the change in net metering, solar installation has dropped way down, which includes my contractor who left the industry. What do you feel about this, and what can the California legislature change?
There are two things in life that we all grapple with. It's called wants and needs. And we want to make sure that we invest in new technology to inspire the green that we all want to achieve. And so I believe that there needs to be more investments in terms of funding to make it easier for folks to add solar to their homes, lessening the burden on our electric system. Now, just know the infrastructure that we have right now in place, it's not brand new. And it's been in place for a very long time, and I'm just gonna go off topic a little bit here. And we're not just talking about the electrification system, we're talking about our water system, we're talking about our roads, we're talking about our bridges, we're talking about our buildings. They all either need maintenance or they need to be rebuilt. But please note, knowing the need, all the love is not lost. And I say that because if we can find a way to ensure the funding is there to support those needs, including the lovely panels that we'd like to see on top of the roofs, if we have the money, right, then that is an opportunity to create good paying jobs. And so when we say, oh, but there's no good paying jobs out there, the jobs are sitting there. They're waiting. They're waiting for us to make a decision on how we want to invest in our future. And so if we want these solar panels to be in place on homes to reduce, our carbon footprint in California and on this earth, then we need to invest. And if we want to make sure that our roads are safe and drivable and that we are using modern technology to reduce our GHG, which is greenhouse gas, then we have to invest. And if we want to make sure that people can live and make a living wage and keep a roof over their heads, then we have to do what? Invest.
Thank you, Mayor Vasquez. Are you aware that LGBTQ students, especially trans students, are under attack as our school boards, even with those that support them? How would you address this in the Assembly?
The one thing that I know is it's hard. It's hard to exist in this world and to be authentically you. And whatever that is, for whoever you are. And you are a human being placed here on this earth with a mission. A mission to bring the value that was intended just for you. Regardless of what you look like or how you sound or, all of the things. You are you. And we have to let you be you, authentically. So, at the state level, I will support legislation that allows for protection. Not just for LGBTQ, but for all of the marginalized communities. And I will support legislation to make sure that there are opportunities for people to learn about other people who are not like them. I think that's important because when we do that, we provide an opportunity to understand and to relate and connect And so I will keep my eyes on those areas, and will do what I can to champion those efforts so that people can be authentically who they are.
California Assembly members have to set up offices in the district and in Sacramento, which means managing offices and hiring staff in 2 districts, one in Sacramento, one in the 79th district. Tell us about your plans to set up your offices in Sacramento and the 79th district, please.
Well, let me tell you about my plans. Yes, there are 2 offices that do exist for Assembly members, but also those who serve in the Senate. My plan will be to have a local office, but my office will extend beyond the brick and mortar that is designated for the 79th Assembly District. My commitment is to ensure that there are opportunities to connect in all areas of the district. I want to make sure that I have staff on board who on a quarterly basis have office hours at your local libraries. I want to make sure that it's not just my staff, but it's also me as your representative who will be available on specific days where you can set up a meeting to speak with me. Let me tell you how deep that commitment runs. Currently, as the mayor for the city of Lemon Grove, I actually have office hours set on Mondays after 4:30 p.m. And so anyone can send an email or make a phone call to the city, and I meet with people in 30-minute increments, and it could be residents, nonprofit organizations, businesses, or maybe someone who is young and is interested about leadership and what it is like to be a mayor of a city. I will take time out to listen and engage and share what I know about leadership, about budget, about service in a community, and about doing everything that you can to help us achieve the quality of life that we want to achieve.
Thank you. 2 more questions. Working in the Assembly means working with leadership in the Assembly, the Senate, the Governor's Office, our federal delegation, local electeds, and most importantly, working with Speaker Rivas. How will you establish working relationships with these folks?
So I actually have working relationships with those folks already. Was up in the Assembly when Rivas was actually sworn in. Really honored to see the change of the guard, but I currently serve on different boards and commissions, not just here in San Diego, as I'm on SANDAG, but also I serve on the board for the League of California Cities. And I'm not sure if you are aware of the League of California Cities, but it's an organization that lobbies on behalf of 482 cities located throughout the state of California. And it's truly an honor to be on that board, because you're talking about 55 people out of 482. And annually, we take a look at what the issues are in communities, and we develop the priorities. This year, the priorities are housing and homelessness, but not just saying housing and homelessness for the league. What the league would like to do is get the state of California to set up long-term permanent funding for housing and homelessness. Right now, funding is allocated on like a one-time basis, a one-off. But this issue is not a one-off. And we really need to take a look at the budget and see how we can ensure that there is funding there to support the true needs of those who are unsheltered. That's just one area, but it's also our economy. and I spoke a little bit about how important it is for our economy to thrive. And if I can rope that back just a little bit, for me, as the mayor for the city of Lemon Grove, just know I'm always looking at the local level, the local municipal level, at ways to be creative and to inject, and I don't want to say inject because that sounds like a shot in your arm, right? But I want to say bring more money into our business community. And one way that we were able to do that, and I'm always thinking outside the box, and I'm noted for that. We came up with, during COVID, and it was the end of COVID, we came up with a gift card program. And we used our ARPA funds, those are federal dollars, and according to the guidelines that were set, we established a gift card, and I want to call it a stimulus program, where if you purchased a Lemon Grove gift card, and you didn't have to live in Lemon Grove to purchase one, the city would give you matching funds. So say for instance you bought one for $150, the city would give you another one for $150 in your pocket to spend in our small local businesses. What that did was it introduced people, not just in Lemon Grove, but in the surrounding area, to Lemon Grove businesses. It fueled many different people to open the door and walk in to see what our businesses were all about and to spend money in our business district. And the end result of that, like our last quarter, because we're in phase 3, there was over $500,000 in gift cards that were purchased to help support our small business community and keep it thriving. And it's a program that has really helped to keep our economy going. When we took a look at our sales tax revenue, if we compare it to this time last year, we actually made 11% more in sales tax revenue than we did this time last year. So that's how impactful that program is. And the same kind of creativity of thinking outside the box to stimulate a local economy, my commitment is to utilize that to try and stimulate our statewide economy.
Thank you. Mayor Vasquez, closing statement, and why do you want this position, please?
So, if I could get everyone's attention here, my name is Raquel Vasquez, Mayor for the City of Lemon Grove, running for the 79th Assembly District. My closing statement to you is, vote for me. Vote for me because public service speaks to my heart. And I take the job seriously. And it truly is a joy to look at some of the most complex problems and to come up with strategies in how to fix those problems. Just know, we all know that government moves slow, and it was intentionally set up in that manner, but that's okay. We just have to try and be a little patient in this age where everything, just happens immediately. But, some of my major achievements on the local municipal level is that I was able to fix the budget. And we did that independent audit and identified 6 areas that needed just a little TLC, and we did that. And what that did was it improved the credit score of the city, and it positioned the city in a way where, we can get a bond or a loan, and we can get it at a reasonable rate. Also, we set up, and I hope I'm not I love government. And I'm sure you're gonna ask questions, but we set up what you call a 115 trust. And a 115 trust allows us to set one-time monies aside. Say for instance, we get money from code enforcement and we get $1 million. We can set aside half of that in this 115 trust, and that money can be utilized to pay off long-term pension liabilities that are coming to every government agency. And so the city of Lemon Grove will be very well positioned to be able to pay those pension liabilities. That trust right now is earning 12% on behalf of the city. You know, and there's just a whole laundry list of achievements that I could talk about while we are being challenged with the storms. This year, we're actually making the largest investment that has ever been made in fixing streets and roads within the city. We are doing everything that we can to help those who are homeless. And I started a process about 2.5 years ago, meeting with the East County mayors. What we did was we formed a memorandum of understanding between the 4 East County cities. We sent that to the County of San Diego. Our hope is that when it comes to grant funding, we'll be able to come together and competitively receive funding to help those who need help the most. But also too, there are some changes that are coming soon on behalf of the city of Lemon Grove that I cannot talk about right now, but you will be able to see what's going on. The one thing that...
Wrap it up, sorry.
You know what, I can't see because I don't have my glasses on.
Oh, okay.
So, sorry, how much we have? Oh, we're done?
Yeah.
Oh, they said I'm done. So...
Well, they kick us out of here and charge us more money.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Another round of applause for Mayor Vasquez, candidate for 79th Assembly. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us, Mayor Vasquez. Thank you.
I hear that Karen Shepard, the candidate for Superior Court Judge, wants to talk to us. You have 2 minutes. Okay. Okay. And after that is Seth.
Kevin, okay.
And Kevin's here too. I'm actually here on behalf of 2 people. I'm here for myself, Corinne Shepard, and for Jody Cleesaddle. We are both the Democratic endorsed candidates for different offices Superior Court Judge. She's 41, I'm 43. Our opponents are both career prosecutors, both to best described as Trump Republicans. They are heavily endorsed by the Republican Party, and I don't use that term lightly. I mean, that is who we're talking about. So, a little bit about, I'll give you a little bit about Jody. Jody's been practicing for 30 years. She actually works for the DOJ, and she does civil. So when the city gets sued, she defends the city. I have been working as a family law attorney for the last 15 years, and I'm a certified specialist in my area. What inspired me to run is exactly what the mayor said. I looked around the community. I saw that we had 27 family law courtrooms and only 6 bench officers had ever practiced family. That's 22%, and that's far too few. I also found out that there are none in East County or South Bay. This is where we have most of the people that are self-represented, whose language, non-native speaker of English. So we have people who are dependent on interpreters, and we don't have any court reporters. All the new judges end up in family. They stay there for a short period of time and they leave. I want to make that change. I'm also an educator. I actually teach at the law school. I'm an adjunct professor teaching California civil procedure. I'm a frequent presenter at mandatory legal education classes, so that means the lawyers who have to learn to be even better lawyers. I get to help present and teach them as well. So I'm taking my spirit of lawyer in family law and educator and bringing that to the bench. I want to help the new judges who don't know family law get better at it, and I want to be in family and dedicate myself to a very underserved area and in very underserved communities. I live out here. I live in Santee. So I'm in a little bit unfriendly territory living out there, but that's where I want to be. So if they will put me out there in family in East County, we will actually have a bench officer who's actually practiced family law and dedicated herself to family law. That's who I am. That's what I want to do, and I would love your support. So especially out here in East County, we really need to band together, support one another. So my website is Shepard 4, the number 4, Judge. I have cards if you want them. Jody's is Jody, the word for judge. It's Jodi. So again, we are both the Democratic endorsed candidates. We would both love your support. Please feel free to check us out on the web, and if you have any questions, I'll be here for a little while afterwards. Thanks so much, everybody. I'm gonna turn this over to Kevin. No, I thought Kevin was coming up. Never mind, I lied to you. I apologize.
The lying judge. Pushing your agenda.
Misinformed.
No, I promised Seth, we would give him a minute. We, if you do not know, in Lemon Grove, he's running against a really, really horrible, toxic, incumbent, who will be very difficult to defeat. So we want to endorse him next month, so I told him he could have a few minutes too.
A few minutes being only 2 minutes, I was just told.
Yeah.
All right, so for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Seth Smith. I'm running for Lemon Grove City Council. I have been in the field of architecture and design for 9 years. I graduated cum laude from this new School of Architecture and Design in downtown San Diego. I am currently the chairperson of Lemon Grove's Planning Commission and have been on that commission for the past 5 years. Now, I'm running for Lemon Grove City Council because I believe that housing is a human right. And I think that I'm uniquely positioned, being both a planning commissioner and working in the field of architecture and design. I've been on both sides of this dais. I know what it is to present something to a commission, and I know what it is to see it. Ding. Sorry.
It's actually a text from Max.
Okay, so and I know what it is to see those projects. During my time as a planning commissioner, I have been able to approve over 150 homes, whether they be apartments, condominiums, or townhomes, all of the above within the city of Lemon Grove. And just recently, the end of last year, our planning commission was able to put an ordinance to city council to update our massage establishment ordinance so that we can try to combat human trafficking within our city, which thankfully, what Mayor Vasquez presiding passed, and we are now enforcing that ordinance. So very, very proud to be able to have participated in that. I know that housing isn't the be-all, end-all. As we're building housing, we need to build housing that is both sustainable and energy efficient. So as a council person, I would like to make sure that we are enacting our climate action plan. We want to give that climate action plan teeth, make sure it's accomplishing what we need it to. And I will end with, we desperately need to bring housing to our city that is affordable. Because as we're seeing, especially now with all the rains that we're having, we need to help get people off the street and into housing. So once again, my name is Seth Smith. I'm running for Lemon Grove City Council. If you'd like to learn more, my website is votesethsmith.com. Thank you.
I'm not sure that we have to do this, but we'll be super legal. I will accept a motion to endorse him at our next, or consider his endorsement at our next meeting. Max moved. A second?
Second.
Okay.
Question. Is your election in November?
Yes.
So again, one candidate, one opening. Let's do it. I'm a big fan of that. Now we're going to do Kevin, and we're going to then do people running for Central Committee Roundup. Just really quick, 10 seconds. Who's running? So we're not going to.
Can I speak for school board?
Yes. Sorry, what?
There's a motion. We need a vote.
Oh, no. Oh, sorry. Is there questions on the motion that we will consider this endorsement at our next meeting?
I have one. Are we automatically endorsing George Gastel alongside him?
George Gastel would be a friendly incumbent.
Okay, so he will automatically, just to make sure.
Well, yeah, that's something that the East County caucus will want to do.
Okay.
This is giving Seth another quiver in his arrow in terms of getting the.
George might need it too.
Yeah, okay. Then George needs to ask me.
It's crazy in Lemon Grove.
Yes, I know. So we're gonna just announce who everybody that's running, but right now we're gonna have Kevin speak to us.
Kevin Jusa.
Good evening, everyone. Woo! Everybody got their ballot?
Oh, yeah.
Is it exciting? Exciting. It's so exciting. My daughters are 17 years old. They're wicked smart. They actually got to see their dad on their ballot, but they're upset because they can't vote till November. So that's truly why I'm running, is so my daughters can vote for me. So when it's all said and done, I can say, you know, I proved to them you can do something. Put yourself out there and make something happen. It's been an exciting time. So last time I was here at the Christmas party, you know, that there's that guy that's running in my race. Does anybody know his name?
No.
I'm not allowed to say his name. Who knows his name? Carl DeMaio. Okay, I broke my rule. Carl DeMaio is running in my race. And he is, I've been in 2 forums with him, and it is so uncomfortable sitting next to this man, listening to him talk about the border. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's running for an assembly race. Our job is to take care of our people, taking care of the unincorporated parts of San Diego, and let's make a difference. I'm really excited. The simple reason why I'm running is to bring resources back to our community that hasn't been coming from Sacramento. The lady who's been currently there, she's brought 1 fire station just over a mile from her house when she covers 3,200 square miles of our San Diego county. She's only brought in 1 fire station a mile and a half from her house. Others have brought $1.4 million in 1 year for their communities. So bring me to Sacramento, and I will fight for getting our tax money back to our area so we can have our infrastructure money, our schools stronger, our roads smoother. And I appreciate your time and letting me speak this evening.
Thank you.
I'll see you guys next month.
Kevin Jusa.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll try to be quick. My name is Cheryl Robertson. I currently serve on the Lemon Grove School Board. And I'm up for re-election this year with 2 other individuals, one who is appointed to a partial term, Jasmine Smith and Yahida Preciado. We've been doing some really amazing work in Lemon Grove. We've actually seen the achievement gap between our Black students and the general population decrease significantly. And so I want to tout that achievement. We're also building the first of its kind early childhood center in Lemon Grove. So we're working really hard to improve the community. Quickly, I am also running for Central Committee, but I also want to tout Seth with Chris Pearson's question on what we need to do in hard races. Seth Smith, when we, in the last election, had too many Democrats running and we were gonna split the vote, and we knew we were gonna split the vote, we had hard conversations, and Seth agreed to wait until 2024, and there are not a lot of candidates who would do that, and so that is the kind of leadership we need. And then, and we need to be doing more of that, and we need to be talking to the clubs in the communities. So like if we're doing something in La Mesa, like if we endorse in Spring Valley, Lemon Grove, we should be talking to Tina in La Mesa, and so we should need to be talking to the communities. And I also wanted to thank Mayor Vasquez for getting more students in our district, because we're all facing declining enrollment, and she is the mayor who is the only mayor in the city, in the county of San Diego, to meet the affordable housing mandates. And that's it. All right, thank you.
All right, candidates for Central Committee, stand in front of the stage. We're gonna pass the mic back and forth. Get up here now if you want it. If you want to talk, get up here now. Okay, go.
Oh, I'm not gonna speak.
We're running for Simon, I'm good.
I'll be brief. Your name and what district?
I don't need to speak twice.
Then make it short.
Hello, everybody. I'm Patricia Dillard. I'm La Mesa City Council member, and I'm running for Assembly District 79 for Central Committee. And I ask for your vote. If you are in the 79th district, you'll be able to vote for me. You can vote for up to 6 people on the ballot, and the ballots are out. So look for my name, Patricia Normandy Dillard, is the way that it is on there, and I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tina Reinberg. I'm also running for the 79th district. I'm lucky number 13 on the ballot, so you got to search for me a little bit. And I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Seth Smith, and I think we just heard a lot from me, so I don't think I'll say a whole lot, much more than I am running for the 79th Assembly District Democratic Central Committee. And I'll just leave it at that. You just heard more than 2 minutes from me, I think.
I agree. I don't need to speak much more, but Miriam insisted I come up and tell you that I'm also running for Central Committee. If you want to hear more about my policy and the things I believe in, you can go to CherylRobertson.com, and I did put a little one-pager on what I believe in for Central Committee, so you can see my values. And here's Miriam. Thank you.
Thank you. Coalition building is one of the things. If you do not have one of these, please do pick it up. Chris Pearson made sure that the County Democratic Party, which we're all running for as Central Committee, has the endorsement list. To get on the endorsement list, you need 2/3. Miriam Plotkin, my phone number's on the back of it because I wrote a whole bunch of them, if you want one from the 79th Assembly District. There are other assembly districts, and use my phone number to text or call, and I'll give you other endorsement lists for other things. Miriam Plotkin, thank you very much for voting however you choose.
Thank you. Also, Judith Walters, friend of the club, sent me a text and said that she wasn't able to come tonight, but those of you in 75 to please support her. And it's time for the 50-50. What does this lucky person get?
$45.
$45. Rosamond, can you look at mine? They're right there. Okie dokie. 0199410. 0199410.
What is it?
0199410.
She made the motion. She didn't know.
Yes.
Made the motion.
410. Is that yours? No, I think it's mine.
Okay.
That's yours, yeah.
All right, Brenda Miller is our winner. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next month.
There's still a motion on the floor.
No, there was no discussion. So,
But there still needs to be a vote.
okay, so we will be, guys. Just one more second. So we heard no objection to having the endorsement next month for Seth Smith. Is there any comment on that? Seeing and hearing none, we will approve that by acclamation, and we will be voting at our next meeting on that. And see you next month when our speaker will be Sarah Jacobs.
No.
Isn't it?
March is, no, April is Sarah Jacobs.
Oh, okay.
We're working on a kilo.
Okay, but we'll have a great panel next month. It'll be the day after the election.